Hi, Kick Andy today is different. First, because this is in English, and second, I will not ask question because Yuni will ask the question.
Okay.
Hi, how are you, Yuni?
I'm good, Pak.
Welcome to Click Andy, by the way.
Mm.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
inviting me to this.
Pleasure. So you can introduce yourself to the audience if you like.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Yuni. I'm from Medan, North Sumatra, and now I'm in batch 2019. I'm Mr. Andes students. Hello.
Geodetic imaging. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Yuni, you come here to ask me questions, right?
Yes.
You can start.
Okay, I have a list of questions that I want to ask you.
Mhm.
Okay, I start with why do we, surveyors, have to learn about the law of the sea, Pak? Like, what are the importance of the law of the sea for us in the future,
Right.
according to you?
Thank you so much. Law of the sea is actually a quite new subject in our department. For example, when I did my undergraduate, there was no subject called law of the sea. So law of the sea is just quite new. Not really like very new. It's like probably maybe not really new. It's actually 20 years now.
Yes.
So why do we need to learn law of the sea? Because surveyors also help people how to define borders in the ocean. Okay, law of the sea is basically law that governs how one country will have a maritime zone, right? So in order for a country to have a maritime zone, they have to do this measurement, like the distance and everything. So that's why geodetic engineer like us or surveyor need to understand law of the sea. The importance is actually also because in the law of the sea there are a lot of technical aspects. So if we give this only to the lawyer, they will not really understand it 100%.
Oh,
They need
okay.
technical people like us. So that's why we need to learn also law of the sea.
So, what if there is no law of the sea in the world, according to you?
What if we will not have any subject?
Okay, yes.
Or
yes, I get it.
no, well, if there is basically sea and ocean, we utilize ocean, right, for many things, shipping, fishing. One country go to other countries through the ocean. So can you imagine if if there is no law in that very busy area? So I think there will be a problem, right? So if there is a conflict, for example, between one country and other countries, there will be no regulation to settle the problem. So that's why it is. That's why I think if there is no law of the sea in the world, I think the world will be very chaotic. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So I also ever heard about Unclass.
Right.
So what is Unclass is, and I think and also what is the characteristics of Unclass and
All
each
right.
part of Unclass, or something like what is Unclass related to all of the things that we learn in geodetic engineering, something like that.
Right. Unclass stands for United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So it is basically a regulation that governs how we manage our ocean. Okay, that's in general. Some even say that Unclass is the constitution of the ocean. Constitution like the Undang-Undang Dasar, right? So that is called constitution because it is the most comprehensive regulation that governs the ocean. So Unclass, once again, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The history is basically like this. So in a particular time, a country will need to secure the ocean, right? Like they want to have the ocean. Like one country, other countries, country A, country B, everybody wants, right, to have the ocean. So can you imagine if there is no regulation, right? You will want more, I will want more too.
Yeah.
So there will be a chaos over there. So in order for us not to have this chaotic situation, the United Nations think that, okay, I think we need a regulation to govern all of this matter, and Unclass is the answer.
Oh,
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, Unclass is like to manage their
The ocean.
they want
Right.
to belong to this.
Right.
So, Pak, beside Unclass, I
Right.
have also heard about Talos. What is it?
Talos.
Talos, yeah.
Talos, it actually stands for Manual on the Technical Aspects of Unclass.
Oh.
We talked about Unclass earlier, right?
Yeah.
So Unclass
Still
is
related to Unclass.
related to Unclass.
Oh,
So
yes.
basically, in Unclass, what we have over there is regulation, pasal-pasal provisions. But those provisions are actually very technical. For example,
Yes.
one of the provision or article will talk about the distance of territorial sea, exclusive economic zone. We talk about that later
Okay.
on. So if you talk about distance, how to actually measure the distance, right? So we actually need another technical document that will help us to understand Unclass or implement the Unclass. So Talos is actually the technical documents that help people to understand and implement Unclass.
Oh.
Okay, so
yes,
that's
got
why.
it.
So basically, if we are a surveyor, a geodetic engineer, we will deal more with Talos actually because it is technical.
Yes.
All right.
Like we want to measure about the borders, we learn it from Talos.
Correct. There is a regulation in Unclass, but that is not very detailed, right?
Oh, okay.
So Talos will help us to implement that or to understand better.
The detail about this.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So, Pak, according to Unclass,
Yeah.
what are the maritime zones and what are the characteristics of maritime zones?
Okay. According to Unclass, a country like Indonesia, like other countries, is entitled to have a number of maritime zones. First, territorial sea.
Territorial sea.
The characteristic is that territorial sea is measured. Let's say this is the country, right? So from this baseline or
Yes.
a coastline, territorial sea is 12 nautical miles, right? And then outside that we have contiguous zone or zona tambahan in bahasa Indonesia.
Okay.
And then we also have exclusive economic zone. We also have Continental South. So I think you probably remember when you're in SMA, you heard about the EEZ, Continental South. So those are, so I need to repeat, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and Continental South. Those are a number of maritime zone that a country can have based on Unclass.
Okay, based on Unclass.
Yeah.
Okay, so still related about the Unclass, Pak. Like I ever heard that the law for Indonesian is as an archipelagic state is different.
Right.
Is that true, according to you?
It is true. Not according to me, but it's according to law.
Okay, it's according to law.
So if I told you earlier, for example, if this is, for example, a country,
Okay.
a country. So
Yes.
outside this country, there's 12 nautical miles of territorial sea,
Yes.
and then contiguous zone, and then EEZ, right, and Continental South. So for archipelagic state, it's different. So
Okay.
these maritime zone were not measured from the island, but from the baseline, called archipelagic baseline.
Oh.
So
yes.
first, Indonesia can have a line enclosing the entire archipelago,
Oh,
okay, which is called archipelagic baseline, and then the 12, 24, and 200 is measured from those baseline, not from each island,
yes,
but
from the baseline.
from the baseline. So that's the difference between archipelagic state like Indonesia and other countries. And if you ask about, so when Indonesia enclose the entire archipelago with this baseline, meaning that the water within that belongs to Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then we can extend our maritime zone outside of that archipelagic baseline.
So that makes Indonesian different with another republic
Correct,
state.
correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Apart from Indonesia, Pak, is there any other archipelagic states?
In the world?
Yes.
Yes. I cannot explain every single thing, but you know Philippines, right?
Yeah, I know Philippines.
Philippines is one of them.
Oh.
Fiji is also an archipelagic. So there are a number of archipelagic states. Basically, a state that is entitled to have this enclosing baseline. Yeah, there's a number. Like if I'm not mistaken, there are more than 20.
Oh, 20.
Yeah.
In Asian or?
No, in the world.
Oh, okay, in the
Right.
world.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, Pak. Return to the maritime zone. We just talk about. I'm still not clear between the EEZ and the Continental South. I think they're the same, but
Okay.
I think yes, something like
The similarities between the two zones is like, if you remember, 12 nautical miles is territorial sea. So EEZ actually start from this 12 nautical miles out to 200.
Yes.
That's what EEZ is all about. 200 for EEZ, but for Continental South, it can go beyond 200. That's the first difference. So the first difference is that EEZ is only up to 200 nautical miles. Continental South can go beyond 200.
Oh,
That's first
okay.
difference.
That's the
Second difference, Continental South is only for the seabed.
Oh.
Only for the
from
seabed. EEZ is mainly for the water column. You get what I mean? For the water, not for the
Water.
seabed. So the Continental South is for the seabed. EEZ is for the water column. Mainly for the water column. That's the difference. Yeah, two differences at least.
So both are outside 12 nautical miles.
Yes. So
Yes.
both are outside 12 because 12 is territorial sea, right? And then outside that is EEZ,
EEZ, yes.
and also Continental South.
South.
But once again, EEZ is for the water, Continental South is for the seabed. Yeah,
I got it.
you got it? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, about the rules are clear about maritime zones.
Yeah.
I think I got it. I already got it.
Mm.
But why the determination of Indonesian maritime zone and also the boundaries has still not been completed?
Good question. Let me drink first. So, yeah, a lot of people actually ask me. For example, the regulation is very clear. I mean, why don't you just define it, right? 12 nautical miles of territorial sea, 24 nautical miles of contiguous zone, 200 nautical miles of EZ.
Yes.
It's clear, and why do we need to take years and years and years to complete that? So the issue is that imagine in the ocean, we are not alone, right? Imagine if we are alone like this.
Yes.
You'll define 12, 24, 200. That's it.
Yes.
You don't need to talk to anyone if you are alone.
Oh.
The thing is that you're not alone. You're with neighbors
Still
like
another
this.
country.
Another countries. So now, if we want to have like 12 nautical miles, if the distance between two countries is less than 24 nautical miles, there will be overlapping claim, right, over here. So we need to define the borders. You might ask question, or others might ask question, and if there's an overlapping claim, why don't you define just the equidistance line?
Yeah.
The same distance between, why don't you just divide it to two, for example? The thing is that the law says, if, for example, the overlapping area is EEZ between this country and this country,
Yes.
if like 200 and then 200, there's an overlapping claim here, right? The Unclass doesn't really say bagi dua, right?
Okay.
Careful. doesn't really say bagi dua or whatever. Not that easy.
Okay.
What the Unclass says is that these two countries have to achieve an equitable solution. Solusi adil, right? So you can imagine if the law says that, and it has to be adil, how do you define adil? right? How do you find equitable?
Yes.
So it means there will be interpretation between these two countries, and that's why they will have different interpretation anyway. That's why when they negotiate,
Yes.
it is not easy for them to come up with a solution or with an agreement, right? That's why the process can be very long.
Oh.
Okay. First, because there's an overlapping claim,
Yes.
because we are close to each other. Second, because the law doesn't really say how to divide that. It's not as simple as yaudah bagi dua aja. Not as simple as like that, or not as like equidistance or area. Not like that.
Yes.
They say, okay, you two, you have to work together and achieve an equitable solution. So equitable solution can be like anything. So that's why it takes us quite long, and that's why we haven't really settled the boundaries yet.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, because of the overlapping area.
Overlapping area and the uncertainty of the law.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, Pak.
Sure.
Can you explain again between the outer limits of the maritime zone and also the maritime boundary, Pak? Because I can still
Oh yeah. Okay.
understand about that.
Okay. So I just need to repeat that. Remember, if this is a country A, country B,
Yes. Okay.
12 nautical miles over here, right? And you also have 12 nautical miles, right? So this 12 nautical mile is called outer limit.
Outer limits. Okay.
Okay. Imagine now if this country claimed 200
Yes.
and you also claim 200, they're really overlapping over here, and we need to divide. Those dividing line is called maritime boundaries.
Oh, it's called maritime boundaries.
Yeah. So
okay.
if the line agreed by two countries,
Mm.
it's boundaries. If the line agreed by one country only,
Yes.
it's limits.
Oh, okay.
You get it?
I got it.
So if you imagine Indonesian map, for example, to the west of Sumatra, there's no other country there, right? So
yes.
we have limit over there,
Oh,
not
okay.
boundaries. But in the south of maybe south of Timor,
There's a country.
there's a country,
It's
Australia.
called boundaries.
That's why it's defined boundaries there.
Oh, okay.
Got it? Right.
Okay, now I understand about
Right,
it.
right.
But what has not been completed is the maritime boundary, I see.
Correct. So what we have completed is maritime boundaries, not maritime limits.
Yes,
Because maritime limits is easy.
because there's no other country.
No
one.
other countries. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Okay, Pak. With what countries do we need to set maritime boundaries? Indonesia.
We have a number of countries. If you imagine the map of Indonesia, from west, north and west, we have India,
Okay, India.
and then Thailand,
Thailand.
Malaysia. We also have Singapore, and then Vietnam,
Yes.
north, and then to the east again we have Philippines. We have Palau. Have you heard about Palau?
No.
Okay.
But
See,
it's-
there's a country called Palau.
Palau. Okay.
And then down we have Papua New Guinea.
Yes, near Papua.
Yeah, close to Papua. And then we have Australia,
Australia and
and then Timor-Leste.
oh,
So
okay.
10 countries. So with those 10 countries, we have to settle our maritime boundaries, but we haven't really settled 100%. So a lot of things to do in the future.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Timor-Leste.
Yeah. So yeah, 10 of them.
Okay, but between
Yeah.
that country, I
Yes.
think, which country is the biggest challenge for Indonesia?
If you have to guess, what is your guess? Maybe?
I think.
What do you hear most problem that we have with what country?
Near. What countries do you say the first? I forgot.
India?
Yes,
No?
I think
Is
India.
it India? Maybe. I think, or if you choose between Malaysia and India.
Malaysia. Okay. I think
Okay.
Malaysia.
Well, I cannot really say which country is the most challenging. I think each country has its own challenge when we define the borders. For example, with India, we established the border for the first time in 1974, I think.
74.
For the first time, and we haven't settled until now. We haven't finalized it.
Yes.
Right. With Malaysia, we settled the first time in 1969,
Oh.
and we haven't settled it until now.
Okay.
So that's very challenging. But I think, okay, probably Malaysia is the most complex, if I may say.
Right.
Why? Because we have a number of area. If you remember the Malacca Strait,
I know Malacca Strait.
Malacca Strait,
Yes.
close to your home probably, right?
Yeah.
Malacca Strait, we have borders that hasn't been settled there with Malaysia
Oh, near Malacca Strait.
in the Malacca Strait, and also in the Singapore Strait,
Mm.
we also have unsettled borders with Malaysia. In the South China Sea,
Oh, yes.
we also have unsettled borders with Malaysia. In the Sulawesi Sea
Sulawesi.
or Ambalat, if you probably heard about that, we also have unsettled borders. So in terms of number of unsettled borders,
Yes.
we have, I think, with Malaysia the most. In terms of the complexity, I also think somehow with Malaysia is
The
maybe
biggest-
one of the most complex
Okay.
issue that we have. But I think we are quite optimistic that we will eventually one day settle the borders. So if you ask me which countries,
Malaysia.
maybe Malaysia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Malaysia.
Mm.
The biggest challenge. Okay.
All right.
So what about China, Pak?
Mm.
Is China our neighbor?
No.
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 Okay.
No, actually not. So I mentioned to you we have only 10, right? So China is not actually.
It's not our neighbor. Okay.
Right. Mhm.
But why is there any problem in the sea close to Natuna?
Okay. The story can be very long, but let me explain this.
Yes.
So based on the Law of the Sea Convention or Unclass,
Yes.
based on the Unclass, we actually have to define the entitlement first. Once again, I use your glass to explain this.
Okay.
If based on Unclass, this can claim 200, this can claim 200,
200.
and if there is an overlapping claim, it means that they are neighbors.
Oh.
Okay.
Neighbors mean that.
Exactly.
There's overlapping.
Overlapping, and then they
Between.
need to settle boundaries.
Oh. Okay. I got
Okay.
it. I got it.
Now, if your glass is over there and mine is over here, so my 200 is up to here, and your 200 is up to here only.
There's no overlapping.
There is no overlapping, so we cannot really say that they are
Neighbor.
neighbors.
Oh.
But you're right to say that. But what happens in the sea close to Natuna? The thing is that let's say this is Natuna and this is China. Somehow, our right is up to here, right? 200 up to here, for example,
Yes.
and China claim it up to here. You get my point? So China is supposed to claim it up to here only, right?
Yeah.
But China did this.
So far.
So far, correct. So
Yes.
so far to the south. That's why, as if there's an overlapping area over here between China and Indonesia, but it is not actually a legal overlapping area because China claimed very far. So that's why we have this issue over here. So legally speaking, China is not our neighbor.
A fake neighbor.
Well, yeah, basically, China,
It's so far.
yeah, claims a lot more than what Unclass allows it to claim. That's why it creates a overlapping area between Indonesia and China, close to Natuna. That's first. Second, they came there to fish.
Still the fish.
Well,
Or like.
at least according to them, it's not probably stealing.
Oh.
Because according to them, it's part of their water,
Okay.
right? So that's why we have an issue in the South China, in the ocean close to Natuna. We can talk about this later on because it can be very long, complex.
Okay, I think okay, but regarding to China,
Right.
I heard that a Chinese drone was found in Indonesian waters. What about it? Like a drone
Yeah.
like in Indonesians?
Drone, that one is actually not the air drone. It's an sea drone.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, there is an object found in the Indonesian water. We thought that it actually belonged to China. There's a small, we call it, okay, drone is basically a general term, means that an object that can move without man, right?
Yes.
It's like unmanned,
Controlled by remote.
controlled by remote, or it controlled by itself.
Yes.
So we found that, and based on the information that I got,
Yeah.
we thought that it actually belongs to China, but until now we haven't really confirmed whether it actually belongs to China. So what I think about that is I cannot really judge whether it is actually a Chinese drone or not. That first. Second, why the drone is around Indonesia? That's probably a more important question. I don't know. Probably like foreign ship
Friendship.
come to Indonesia, and then they release the drone. I don't know what happened. So because we have a lot of foreign ship actually come to the Indonesian water, right? So I cannot really confirm what happens to that drone. Whose drone is it actually? So it might be Chinese. It might be, it might belong to other countries. Right.
It can be detected.
Uh,
has the
so
drone?
far, there is no conclusive information or conclusion about that. Yeah, of course, there is a speculation. This might be China, or it can be there. So I don't really have any information about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, Pak. So foreign ships can enter Indonesian waters without any permission.
True.
Without any permission.
Without any permission. So basically, yeah, you're surprised, right?
Yeah.
So let's say this is Indonesia. There's an island over here, So and these are actually, for example, baseline. So all waters over here belongs to Indonesia, right? So the ship can actually go past through this without asking any permission, because that is what the law says. That is what the Unclass says about the. So it is actually quite serious mistake if we think that every foreign vessel has to have permission when they go through the Indonesian water. So it's not really the case.
Oh.
Yeah.
But they just pass.
They pass.
Just
Yeah.
like not do like surfing, like catching fish.
Okay. As long as they don't do something bad.
Oh.
If they just pass through, that's what I said. If they pass through, it's okay.
It's okay.
They have to do it, and then they don't really have to ask permission. But if they fish, or if they do something bad, and of course they cannot do that. You got my point?
Yes.
So we have to distinguish this. Only to lewat is okay, but they cannot really fish and catch or exploit or do survey or whatever.
But what if they do it like secretly, like stealing fish without telling, and like
Yes.
the time that we never expect, like
Right.
in
At
the
night?
midnight. Yes.
That's why we need to protect our ocean.
Okay.
Right. So for example, I have the analogy here, okay? If you live in a kampung like me, like this, for example, you cannot really prevent people from coming through to the jalan, right? Not in my house, to the road. You got my point?
Yes.
So whoever can pass through anytime. Now the question is, your question is like how if, what if,
Yes.
if they steal something,
Yeah.
or what if they go through and then they throw something to my house, right? That's what the question is. Still very similar.
Yeah, similar.
My answer is that first, you cannot really ask them not to come. Kita nggak bisa bilang gitu kan.
Yes.
We just have to allow them because that's what the law. So, but if you want to protect your house, I need to put some, for example,
Security.
CCTV.
Yes.
CCTV over there, right? Or I need to put a satpam over there. You got my point?
Yes.
So just like that, similar. So if you ask me, what happened if they steal fish and things like that? Well, of course we don't want them to steal fish. So if we don't want them to steal our fish, we have to protect our ocean. That's why we need to have all of this patrol,
Yes.
all of this navy, whatever. They have to do all the operation to protect our ocean. So by increasing our ability to protect our ocean, not by asking them not to come, right?
Okay.
Right.
So does it include a submarine or a carrier with fighter planes?
Yes,
Fighter planes.
submarine can come, even though the rule is a bit different. In
Right.
our territorial sea, the submarine can come, but they have to appear.
Oh, cannot just be under the sea.
Correct. They cannot do that in the our territorial sea. They have to come, and then appear above the surface.
Yes.
They have to raise their flag, and then they can go in the territorial sea. But in other water like archipelagic waters, they don't have to do that.
Why?
That's the law. Okay, that's the law because in the archipelagic water, we have defined the line where they can go. For example, if this is 2 islands, we have defined the line over here to here, so they can use that line without appearing to the surface if this is within the archipelagic waters. But in the territorial sea, they have to go above, appear,
And show their flag.
show the flag, and then they can go. So why? Yeah, because that is what the law says, and that's what we agreed upon. The law. You remember, if you talk about the Unclass, actually Indonesia was there when the Unclass was created. When the world negotiated to form this Unclass, Indonesia was there. So basically, we already agreed the contents of the.
So that's the submarine. How about the fighter planes?
The fight, yeah. Let's say a carrier with the fighter planes over there, like we call it kapal induk probably in bahasa Indonesia. The kapal induk with a lot of fighter planes. Can they go? Yes, they can go. They can, of course, they can go through our water. That's the law says. And then you probably ask me the question, don't you think it's dangerous?
Yeah.
Because they pass through our water between our islands, and they have these fighters, kapal perang, whatever,
Kapal perang.
or pesawat
Senjata.
tempur or whatever. Yeah, that's the challenge. So it means that if we want to protect our country, it means that we have to enhance our facilities, our senjata,
Develop our facilities.
facilities. So basically, we have just to have to develop our facilities, our capacity. We cannot really stop them from coming, because that is what the law says, right?
Okay, I get it. Submarine, fighter planes.
Mm.
And what if they harm our sea, Pak?
If they harm our sea, and then it's a different story.
Oh.
For example, if they come and fish, of course they cannot do that. If they come and do the survey, of course they cannot do that. If they come and throw away pollution, they cannot do that. So they can only pass through. Okay, so we have to be careful and understand here, because whenever I say this to people will say that, and then they will be very harmful to us. No, if they are harmful to us, we can do something about it. Okay, so they can only pass through. They cannot really fish. They cannot stop even. They cannot do the survey. They cannot throw pollution. So if they do that, of course there will be a law about that.
What if they do like surfing without like destroy the things about the sea?
Okay, that is why we have to be also very smart,
Oh,
right?
okay.
We have to have a smart system that is able to identify or observe. Okay, so just like what I said, for example, if you want to go to the crowd,
The crowd.
the crowd, let's say wherever, but you think that there's a danger over there. What you do is first you don't go there, or you have to equip yourself with all of those equipment that can detect the danger, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like that. So if you don't
Got it.
want if you don't want the foreign vessel to do the survey secretly,
Mm.
you have to have a more advanced system to be able to identify that.
Mm.
So basically, it's a challenge for us
Okay.
to basically to improve the quality of our facilities.
Mm. So when they're like just a passing through,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
there's an idea to tax that ships. How can
Tax.
that?
Yeah.
There's a
Taxing.
tax.
Yeah. Tax. Basically. Yeah. This is actually. Yeah. Some said that, for example, if there is a foreign vessel
Mm.
to come to our ocean, why don't we just charge some tax so they have to pay us, right?
Yes.
So we can be rich.
Rich.
Um, unfortunately, the law does not really allow us to do that,
Oh.
because once again, the laws comes with the provision that even though this is our ocean, foreign vessels are allowed to pass through.
Mm.
So we cannot really charge them with money only because they pass through. So that's very clear.
Okay. There's no taxing.
No.
Mm. So does that mean we can take advantage, right?
Okay, if you want to take advantage out of this foreign vessel, you can, but you cannot really tax them. What you can do is, for example, imagine if they are passing through a very long journey,
Mm.
they need somewhere to take a rest,
Mm.
right? So what you do is you build a very good port here.
Oh.
If you build a very good port here, they'll come
Like,
to you,
like rest area.
like rest area, for example, in the toll road.
Mm.
So they can come there.
Mm.
They can buy something. Of course, they have to pay, right?
Yes.
So basically, we can take advantage from them because they use our specific service.
Mm.
So in that case, it's okay. Or we can actually provide other specific service. For example, if they want to go through here, we can say that, hey, when you come here, you can use our service to guide you
Yeah.
for your safety.
Okay.
And then when they take our service, they have to pay.
Mm.
So meaning that we can take advantage by providing them a specific service,
Taxing.
but we cannot really charge them only because they pass through.
Mm.
Okay, so if the question is, can we take advantage? The answer is yes, we can, by
Yeah, building like rest area.
rest area, basically providing them with a specific service.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Mm.
So, Pak, back to the matter of the maritime boundaries.
Mm.
Like you said before, I also ever heard that there's a water column boundary that is different from the seabed.
Okay.
What does it mean, Pak?
It means that once again, for example, if there is two countries here, if there is a seabed, let's say this is a seabed, okay? There is a seabed over here, boundary, so dividing the seabed, and also the line dividing this water column.
Oh.
You got my point?
Yes.
So there is a different line that dividing the seabed and the water column.
Mm.
Why? Because they are two different regime. The seabed is Continental South. The water column is EEZ, right? So, and the law says that they don't have to be the same.
Mm.
They don't have to be the same.
Same.
So you can have a water column, sorry, a seabed over here and water column over here. So it's actually completely legal.
Mm.
So the loan clause doesn't say that the two lines have to be the same, in the same position. So that's why. And we have actually the case with Australia.
Oh.
So
already
the
have
case
the
is that in 1970s we define our seabed boundaries with Australia, and in 1997 we define our water column, and so that they are different. Because they are different, so there is a space over there where the seabed belongs to Australia, but the water belongs to Indonesia.
Oh, OMG.
Yeah, so that's the actually it's a reality and it's legal. Right.
Okay.
Mm.
Coba. Like it turns out that this marine problem is really complex, you know.
It
like,
is actually. Yeah.
Does Indonesia already have a national maritime policy?
We do. We
You
have.
already have.
We already have. But it's actually quite newly established in 2017 only.
Oh.
So we got our independence in 1945.
Yes.
We only get our national ocean policy in 2017. So when like 72 years after our independence. But that's okay. Some people say that it's quite late, but that's okay. It's better late than never, right?
Yes.
So we do actually have. So basically the we call it KKI, Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia, or National Maritime Policy or National Ocean Policy in Indonesia. So the answer is yes, we already have the policy. So basically now it is quite clear for us how to manage our ocean because we already have our national ocean policy. Yeah.
So Indonesia is Indonesia ready to move towards like the world maritime axis?
Okay. The term is actually, some people say World Maritime Axis, some people say World Maritime Fulcrum, but in Bahasa Indonesia it is Poros Maritim Dunia, right? The answer is that, are we ready to move? My answer is, I think there are a lot more things that we need to do in order for us to be the Poros Maritim Dunia,
Yes.
or World Maritime Fulcrum. But one thing that we need to learn about that is, what is World Maritime Fulcrum? There are 2 points actually. First, Indonesia wants to use ocean for prosperity of the people. Okay, we want to use that for the prosperity of our people. That first. Second, we want to contribute to the issue of ocean to the world. There's 2 things, right?
Yeah.
So it means that if you ask me, are we ready to do that? First, I cannot really say that we are ready or not, but we have a lot of homeworks to do actually, but hoping one day that we will be there. Right.
Okay. We have covered quite a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually more than 30 minutes probably, or 40 minutes, I don't know.
I think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would say like thank you for answering a lot of my questions, Pa.
Sure.
Okay. Just yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming for this. What is your experience about?
That's my pleasure. You invited me to your podcast.
Thank you. So what is your experience? Do you have any opinion about this podcast, or?
This is so, I think so amazing. We never talked in real. We never met before in Indonesia. Just like to talk about another subject beside this law of the sea.
Okay.
But now you invited me, like, yeah, we tell about law of the sea, and then before we have SCL Dream, you know, like you were telling me like. I do presentate about Indonesian culture.
Right.
You remember that?
Yes.
So like, yeah, that's only the bigger experience with me.
Sure. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So once again, thank you very much. I hope this is not the last podcast that we'll have. I hope we can have something different in the future.
Okay, but thank
Once
you.
again, terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye bye. Thank you.